I'd like to welcome everyone to my channel. My name is Francisco Perez, and if you're new here, I'd like to welcome you. And all those who are returning, welcome back. So, I'm just going to play this video. We're going to talk about Noah. Enjoy this video. The following book was written by Berosus, who was a Chaldean priest of Bel in the 3rd century. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to everybody as well.
The following book was written by Berosus of Berosus, who was a Chaldean priest of Bel in the 3rd century. He wrote 3 books. Most of his works are said to be lost. But yet, thanks to other historians, many of his writings are saved through citations and quotes by other.
So you can go and look up this book. I'll try and leave the link. It's free. And you don't really hear any stories of Noah, any books in Noah.
Historians like Abidanus, Apollodorus, Josephus, Syncellus, Eusebius and Alexander Polyhistor. The history of this video comes from this book, which is kept in British Museum Library. Anyone can ask for a copy by paying some fees, but you can read this book for free. Thanks to a person who has purchased a copy and has published the copy on a site. I hope that you will take some time and read this very important book, because it is not found anywhere else except this site in the British Library. Berosus writes, before flood Noah lived in the first city of the world called Enos, the city that was built by Cain, son of Adam, and it was located near Syria.
So it's saying that Berosus writes, before the flood. So prior to the flood happening, Noah lived in the first city of the world. Okay, so now, if you don't understand what this channel is about, right now I'm going to decipher this to my best ability. Alright? What we know as the Bible is a lot of perversions and riddles. So I'm going to try and use this video to connect a history I believe is true. Okay? And I'll use archaeological evidence, historical evidence, tribal evidence, biblical evidence. I use books, other videos, research. I'll use everything at my disposal. And that's what you're about to witness. So, I did a lot of videos where I connect the names. Let's start with the name. So what I did was I said, okay, said that they lived in a city, the first city of the world. I believe that the first cities of the world was in America, right? Where the oldest cities are, oldest temples are located today, the oldest pyramid. Okay, So I'm gonna try and connect this to a place. When I first started this, I know a little bit about America and the things. I try to connect to it with history, but I came in here open minded. I didn't know where it was gonna take me, but I knew that this place was in America. I know it. I knew it. So what I did was I said, okay, let's do Enos America. I figured it was in North America, but I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna put in America, and then it brought up North Carolina. Okay, so here we go. So I brought up the Eno people, the Eno people, the Eno or Enoki. What do we know about the Bible? We know that there was an ancestor named Enoch, right? That sounds close. But we know that there was a city called Enos, one of the oldest city, the first city. And these people that are in America, they're American Indians. They live on the Eno River. And there's a people that disappeared and blended in with other tribes because their population got too low. But they're called the Eno people, also called Wyandot, was an American Indian tribe located in North Carolina during the 17th and 18th centuries that was later absorbed into the Catawba and or the Saponi tribes. Okay. Now, so now we're going to get into the history. The Enos was first mentioned in historic documents by William Strachey, the first secretary of the colony of Virginia in the early 17th century. The history of Chavali into Virginia, Britannia. Strachey mentions the Enoch. So if you don't know that, a lot of times when they put A in front of our name, and they put Enoch or A in front of the name, it's usually meaning an Afro race. But let's just continue. To the southwest of the Powhatan Confederacy, centered near present-day Richmond, Virginia, whose houses are built as ours, 10 days' distance from us. Another early mention is in May 1654. Letters from Francis Yeardley, an Indian trader from Virginia, to John Ferrer, deputy treasurer of the Virginian Company in Huntingdonshire, England. So it goes to the letter. It says, in 1654, in his letter, Yeardley wrote that the Tuscaroran had described to him a great nation called the Hawaiianoks, who had valiantly resisted the Spaniards' further northern attempts. The village of Unuk in Piedmont of North Carolina was visited by John Lederer in 1670. Lederer reported that the Enos town is built round a field, whereas their sports they exercise with so much labor and violence, and in so great numbers that I have seen the ground wet with the sweat that dropped from their bodies. Their chief recreation is slinging the stones. Yeah, you know what I mean? Slingshot, the sling, the Hawaiian sling, the American sling. They are a mean stature and courage, covetous and thievish, industrious to earn a penny. Isn't that us today? We're mean stature and courageous, covetous and thievish, industrious to earn a penny, right? We'll do whatever to get that dollar, right? Right. And therefore hire themselves out of their neighbors, who employ them as carriers or porters. They plant abundance of grain reap 3 crops in the summer, and out of their granaries supply all of the adjacent parts. They build not their houses of bark, but of watling and plaster. In summer, the heat of the weather makes them just to lie abroad in the night under thin arbors of wild palm. Some houses they have of reed and bark. They build them generally round, right? Do we see a lot of reed houses in South and Central America, right? Uh, to each house belong a little hovel. In Canada, they had this type of building structures made like an oven where they lay up their corn and mass and they keep it dry. They parch the nuts and acorns over the fire to take away their rank oiliness, which afterwards pressed yield a milky liquor, and the acorns an amber colored oil. In these mingled together, they dip their cakes at great entertainments, and so serve them up to their guests as an extraordinary dainty. The government is democratic, and the sentences of their old men are received as laws, or rather oracles by them. This was said by John Lederer. James Neiman and Gabriel Arthur also traveled through Eno, described an Indian town 2 days' journey beyond Ochonichi Islands in Virginia. And I'll show you later on that Ochonichi they immigrated later on into the area and melded with the Enos, or they built alongside the Enos. On their way to trade with the Cherokees in 1673, in 1701, English adventurer John Lawson traveled to the coast of South Carolina, north into North Carolina, then to the coast near Washington, North Carolina. In his book, New Voyage to Carolina, Lawson reports that the nation of Atchishire, present-day Durham, North Carolina, had confederated with the Shikori and the Eno. He said their villages was known as the Ashishir. Lawson traveled east from Ochonechi, Okanichi town, located near present-day Hillsborough, North Carolina, to several other streams which emptied themselves into the branches of Cape Fear, with Inowil, their chief man, who rules as far as the banks of Ritkin, the Haw River, the Hawahaya River, right? What do we call Hawaii? Hawaiki, River. What is the type of Mississippian temple mound? Same as in Hawaii and other Polynesian cultures. Lawson further described the location of Atchishir, where nearby there runs a pretty rivulet by this town. Near the plantation I saw a prodigious overgrown pine tree, having not seen any of the sort of timber for above 125 miles. Describes the inhabitants of the villages as much addicted to a sport they call chenko, which is carried on with a staff and a bowl made of stone, which they trundle upon a smooth place like a bowling green, made for that purpose, as I have mentioned before. A government official from South Carolina traveled across North Carolina with a military expedition against the Tuscarora in eastern North Carolina. The expedition produced a map that shows Okonichi Old Town on what appears to be New Hope Creek. This may depict the former site of Atchishir. By the early 18th century, the Enos combined with the Shikoris, Totolos, Saponis, Kewawis, and Okanichis were reduced to a population of approximately 750 people. About 715, the Enos merged with the Catawbas in the North Carolina-South Carolina border. The Enos became member elements of the Catawba, perhaps due to the outcome of the Yamasee War, in which the Enos may or may not have participated. It is, however, extremely likely that the Eno could have constituted a significant portion of the Catawba Nation. The Inori River in South Carolina appears to have been named for the Enos, the being the equivalent of the word the. So the Enos. So let's go further. So Inori River. Inori River rises in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, flows southwards across the Piedmont region to along the boundaries of Spartanburg, Union, and Newberry counties, past the communities Taylor's Whitmore, and through the Sumter National Forest. It flows into the Broad River from the west Newberry County. The name Indori is thought to be derived from a Cherokee word meaning the Muscadines. Okay. Now the Eno Indians were a small tribe in North Carolina, allies of the Catawba. Their language was never recorded, but may have been a Siouan language similar to Catawba. The Eno no longer exists as a distinct tribe. They merged together in the 18th century. Most Eno descendants still live among the Catawbas today, although like other Carolina Sioux groups, there are probably people of Eno descent among the Lumbee tribe. And here's the thing, Eno River, Eno Indians, Eno River, Eno Indians. So let's go to the next one. So if you look here, it says that the Occaneechi Indians once lived nearby on an island in the Roanoke River, well known for trading goods with other Indian nations and colonists. The Occaneechi resided close to several Indian paths. They also hunted, fished, and raised crops that included corn, beans, and tobacco. In May of 1676, Nathaniel Bacon enlisted the Occaneechi to help defeat Susquehannocks, and then turned on the Occaneechi and attacked them. The Occaneechi left Virginia with their neighbors, the Saponis and Totoris, soon afterwards. By 1701, the Occaneechis were living on the Eno River in North Carolina. So they migrated there in the early 1700s, late 1600s. Okay? So it goes. John Lawson's description of his journey from the Haw River. Hold up. Haw River to Occaneechi Town provides a vivid picture of the environment and its aboriginal utilization in the area just north of the Falls Reservoir. The Virginia man asking our opinion of the country we were then in, we told them it was a very pleasant one. They were all of the same opinion and affirmed that they had never seen 20 miles of such an extraordinary rich land, lying all together like that betwixt Haw River and the Occaneechi town. Having taken our leaves of each other, we set forward, and the country through which we passed was so delightful that it gave us a great deal of satisfaction. About 3 o'clock we reached the town, and the Indians presently brought us good fat bear and venison. which was very acceptable at that time. Their cabins were hung with a good sort of tapestry, right? Didn't we Polynesians have tapestries? As fat bear and barber or dried venison, no Indians having greater plenty of provisions than these, the savages do. Indeed, still possesses the flower of Carolina. The English enjoying only the fag end of that fine country. So this is the people of the Piedmont and their mound builders, right? At the Town Creek Indian Mound, restorations of the town's original structures stand in the town center. The major temple shown here sits atop of the earthen mound. So, what does it say here? Throughout the Mississippian period, many peoples of the central Piedmont continued to live in small hamlets like the one at Hogue. But in northern Piedmont, by 1400s, most people lived in compact villages. The archaeologists have found is the wall site located on a small bend in the Enos River. So it shows you some of the villages. Shows that animals they ate, the fruits they ate. Shows you other villages, Town Creek, the PD culture, the burial houses, Mississippian cultures. So it says Mississippian cultures included several traits found at Town Creek, including temples and civic buildings set on top earthen platform mounds, social and political hierarchies with priests and chiefs, religious symbolism artistically representing in jewelry and ritual items, corn, agriculture, and variety of ceremonies surrounding it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to come back to continue this. Shabbat shalom.